Speaker. And my colleague from Massachusetts, continues to use his talking points and mentions the gun lobby. And I just want to point out that, I hear from many of my constituents who are law-abiding gun owners and who are extremely concerned and oppose this bill. As a matter of fact, I met with a group of students from my district this morning who oppose this legislation, and even the students know that this bill will do nothing to stop gun violence, but they do understand it will trample Second Amendment rights. And with that, I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Missouri.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today's rule is an all too familiar pattern of the legislative laziness for my Democrat colleagues. Once again, Washington Democrats are hiding their spending from the American people. They are smuggling their spending levels to the upcoming appropriations process into a rule for a totally unrelated bill, so they don't have to debate or defend their out-of-control spending habits. Last year, Democrats did the exact same thing. The chairman of the Budget Committee drafts a spending resolution, he skips over his committee, and then they toss it into a rule, hoping no one notices. At no point in the last 4 years of the majority have House Democrats actually marked up a budget in the Budget Committee. Time and again, House Democrats have acted with as little sunlight as possible because they don't want to be held accountable for their record. Americans know that Washington spending is driving inflation, and now Democrats are calling for even more. Last year alone, House Democrats voted for $7.5 trillion in new spending, including the $2 trillion so-called rescue plan that ignited the highest inflation in 4 decades. Since President Biden took office and one-party Democrat control of Congress in Washington, inflation is up 11%. Gas prices are up 110% on their watch. President Biden's 2021 deficit was the second highest in history, $517 billion more than the CBO. Democrats, they don't want to debate budgets. They certainly don't want to debate the president's budget, which would spend $73 trillion over the next decade, a 66% increase over the past decade. It would add $16 trillion in new debt, as well as $1 trillion annual deficits every year. Democrats don't want to talk about budgets because they're spending like they simply don't exist. If Democrats won't show their cards, allow me. The resolution that is tucked away in this rule has over $1.6 trillion in discretionary spending next year, $132 billion, or a 9% increase over the most recent fiscal year 22 omnibus. It is $21 billion more in spending than even Biden's budget proposal. Instead of hiding, I urge my colleagues to be crystal clear with the American people about exactly what they have in store for them. Tax increases, high inflation, open borders, energy dependence, and an even growing mountain of debt.
Expired.
I yield back.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts.